Hi, everybody. Welcome to Carpenter and Awareness Week. I'm Sheila Finkelstein, backing up Ginger Marks, our illustrious leader, who you do see here now. She wasn't sure she'd get back from her vacation, celebrating her anniversary. And so she asked me to take the lead initially, introduce SMichael, our first guest speaker for this, how many sessions? 2, 4, 6, 7 sessions. Seminar. So Ginger, you want to tell us a little bit about the week, how it happened?
Yeah, everybody that I know knows about this book that I write every year. It's a book called Weird and Wacky Holiday Marketing Guide. And this book is a compilation of all of the weird holidays and the regular traditional ones throughout the year. And then I take, after I break it all down, I take a few of the holidays that are listed and come up with ideas of how to market your business surrounding that holiday. Well, every month on the Weird and Wacky website, it's called holidaymarketingguide.com. I give one free bonus idea that's never been used before, that I just come up with it off of my head that minute I start typing. And so that's always available, once every month. Well, this month I decided to use the Carpenter ant because I thought, well, okay, now a carpenter ant eats away at wood. What would eat away? How would you turn it? Okay, eating away at your self-confidence, eating away at your success. These are things that we can use to market the business. Well, how are we going to turn that? Well, since it's a week long, why not do a webinar? And so I put together a flyer and put the thing all together. And I said, 12 years I've been running this thing, writing these out and doing the books, and it's been award-winning, and I've never even done a single one of them. Isn't it about time I did? So that's when I decided to do the Weird and Wacky Carpenter Ant Awareness Week webinar, and that's where we've come to today. And I had some wonderful people offer to come and teach us all about different ways we can stop eating away at our own successes. And that's how this all came about. And so I thank you all for being here today. And thank you, Sheila, for being my backup, because I really, just coming back in after an 8-hour drive I'm just totally not prepared. So thank you for being here for me.
My pleasure. Okay, thank you for that explanation. One of the things that I really liked about it, Ginger, is that in the image I got when you talked about carpenter ants eating away, what it brought up for me, which is so true and we forget, we all start out as whole and complete. And if we weren't whole and complete in that, then there would be nothing. So then the carpenter ants can come in if we allow them and chip away. So that's what just came up for me. And those of you who are seeing this will see me talking. You'll also see Ginger's name because I had to sign in as Ginger. So I'm Sheila Finkelstein of technologyforseniors.madeeasy.com, which is, I don't know if Ginger qualifies as a senior or not, but I also work with boomers, which is why one of the reasons Ginger called me, because somebody said I could help with Zoom, etc. So that's a little bit of my background, and I've just started ouruntoldsstories.com, because to me, one of the most important reasons for using particularly seniors technology is just we hear something, record it. So that's my story briefly. Thanks for listening. And now, let me introduce, I have the pleasure of introducing the first of this week's guests, SMichael. And Sarah works with visionary entrepreneurs ready to get comfortable being visible, who want to do the inner and outer work it takes to lead from their feminine in their marketing and business and have a bigger impact helping more people. Sarah helps clients nailing down the words they say in their marketing and having powerful conversations, providing guidance to articulate intangible and hard to describe services in a way that people get it. Combining her practical business experience, marketing archetypes, and her intuition, she helps clients to articulate their unique positioning and have alignment throughout all of their messaging, marketing, sales, speaking, and video, and networking, with an emphasis on strong conversations that also lead to new clients. With extensive experience in marketing communications, branding, business operations, and personal development, clients come to Sarah who are struggling with feeling comfortable putting themselves out there and owning the significant value in their marketing and sales. Sarah conducts classes and workshops in Southern California and by request across the country. She holds a degree in English from Kenyon College. Is that in Africa? Well, wait, you'll answer my question when you unmute yourself. And a Master's of Communication Arts from New York University. So welcome, Sarah. And if you have any questions and she'll ask, just put them in the chat, people. There's also Q&A. Again, welcome all. Thank you. Sarah?
Hello, welcome. And Kenyon College is in Ohio. It's
okay.
Liberal arts. Yeah, versus Kenya. There's actually a shirt that says Kenyon is not near Uganda. So that is kind of a joke. It's very cute that you said that. I love that you said that. So thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Ginger. Happy anniversary, Ginger.
Thank you.
I saw you were in the Keys, I think 2 days ago, and I'm like, interesting. Before Sheila got in touch with me. So yay, we're all here. And thank you for having me. I'm so excited. And I love the Carpenter Ant week, awareness day week. And I love that you're turning it towards, where, what's eating away at our success, what's eating away at our motivation. And I guess today is about, what's been eating away at your goals. And welcome, you guys. Thank you for being here. And today we're going to be talking about feel-good goal setting. Thank you, Sheila, for introducing me. That was awesome. And really, you guys out there, if you're here, you listen to this in the replay, if you're the type, Sheila, you mentioned kind of before we got rocking and rolling and started, that goals can trip up the best of us. And I think we all understand that without a goal, if we don't have a goal, how can we meet it? Like, there is something about just staking a claim and declaring it and speaking it. But as I'm going to get into, for a whole host of reasons, we tend to often, some of us, especially women, I'll talk about why, stay away from them, avoid them, hold them loosely, not really take them seriously, and all of that stuff. I do have some notes because while I could talk about this for days, I wanted to make sure that I took a straight linear path with you guys, and I didn't get too windy and wanted to help y'all process this because we're going to talk about a lot today. The first thing, though, I wanted to just give a lit sort of so y'all can understand from whence I came in terms of this actual work in goals and time and the masculine and the feminine. So back 15 years ago or so in graduate school, I was assigned a book called Finite and Infinite Games. This is the first kind of data point I want y'all to file away. So a finite game, it was by a man named James Carse. Finite game is a game played for an outcome and a result. And there was a time limit, like at a certain point, it ended. So a finite game, it's very contained, it's very competitive. I'll get into definitions deeper in a minute. An infinite game is a game that's played for the joy of play and for continuation of play. So it's more experiential. We're here. And at the time when I read that book, it was one of two books that really changed my worldview after reading it. Completely just went with how I held the world, how I looked at the world. And then fast forward about, I don't know, 8, 9 years after that, and about 7 years since, 8 years till today, I learned the distinctions around masculine and feminine leadership, and was actually the Finite and Infinite book, the Finite and Infinite Games book was suggested as a nice, easy read that encapsulates what masculine and feminine leadership is. So it's something I've been playing with in my life for 15 plus years. And in the last 8 to 9 years, I've been actively applying it. And a lot of people talk about feminine power and feminine leadership, and it's all beautiful work. And where I come in, and I don't see a lot of other people doing it, is how do we do this in life? What does that look like day to day? It's fine to say that we need feminine leadership and nobody's teaching it, and the models we have out there for us are masculine leadership. Yes, they all are. But we can't just say it. We have to figure out what it looks like. And so what we're going to get into today is how do we take some feminine leadership into goal setting? And that's going to accomplish 2 things. One, it's going to make a lot of us that might have had some agita with them, weren't really comfortable with goals, maybe even have some goal trauma, as I've heard it's called. It's going to make them more accessible. It's going to make goals easier to stomach. We're going to find a way that you can have a goal that in a way that's empowering, not disempowering. And we're going to, but what does that look like? And we're going to talk about that. So, and just to say, this absolutely is work that must be taught. 10, 12 years ago, I was a new manager. I was basically managing women like a man because my male manager, he just worked for me. And I don't know if we were just in hindsight, I don't know if we were just an easy fit or whatever, but his kind of masculine style, it was kind, it was courteous, it was honoring, but it was I need you to get better at this, and I'd be like, okay. That's all I needed to hear, and I was on it, and it was empowering, and it felt good. Well, it's actually kind of unusual that I responded as a woman, responded so well to it. But then I figured that was so effective, I'll just adopt that management style myself. And that couldn't have known better, but that was not the way. And so that's where really, when I started to actively look at this stuff, learn to do it, how do you do it as a manager, how do you do it in business, has been what I've been up to for the last 5 years. So we're going to have some fun. And the whole point here really is to integrate both masculine and feminine into our worlds, into our goals, into our businesses and our life. It's not one is better than the other. It's not that we're, masculine leadership because it's been the dominant form of leadership. It kept us alive for a lot of years. Masculine leadership focused on building homes, catching food, cleaning up, sanitation, municipal concerns that, if we really look at it, up until 60 years ago, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, those things were still a pretty big concern. It was still something that needed to be sorted out. So, yeah, let me look at this. And I want you to sort of sort yourselves here. And if you want to put comments in the comments, or if you want to put some comments, that would be awesome too. And see if you can see where you're at. I find goals and people fall into a few categories. One is you're setting goals, but if you don't meet the goals, you beat up on yourself and you get really down on yourself. Another is you put a lot of pressure on yourself and you're afraid of failing. And the other is you feel like you have to push or force something to happen in order to meet your goals. See if any of those, maybe a couple, resonate, but just either in the comments or just to yourself on your notes. Take a little clarity check and assess yourself. See where you're at now. And the first thing I'm going to do is talk about masculine and feminine leadership a little more. I kind of gave you a primer to tell you from whence I came, but we're going to go into really what that looks like. I'm going to explore a lot how time is such a factor here. in order, well, I'll get into it, but time is a really crucial component, and it's the indicator to us when masculine leadership may be a default mode and can have us catch ourselves and have a choice. Well, really, maybe I want to be in feminine leadership right now, not masculine, but we'll get into that in a second. And then the practical application, as I said, we're going to talk about ways to have a structure, have a goal setting practice that feels good, that fits into your unique proclivities, like how much structure do you need? And I'm not going to prescribe a one size fits all cookie cutter, it must look like this system. It's a big reason why a lot of the goal setting systems and even calendar systems out there don't get used because they're just too rigid. So we make our own around here. And I'm going to talk about flexible goals. I'm going to talk about the mindset around it. I'm going to talk about like the spiritual aspect of goal setting, because there's an aspect of that. So first and foremost, though, let's talk a little bit more about masculine and feminine leadership. So, you know, initially, fear and, oh, thank you, Ginger, fear and punishment. I was just like, okay. Initially, when I first read the Finite and Infinite Games book, what I was really taken with, and this is a beautiful kind of encapsulation of what feminine leadership is. It's very visionary. It's a very big promise. It's overarching. You can look at it like this, like feminine leadership. It's the overarching vision, message, mission of your life, of your business, of your relationship. It can really be applied any place. But what I was so taken with was that we were going to be responsible for and focused on the experience, the joy of play, and the continuation of play. How cool is that? I mean, doesn't everyone want to just participate in a world where it's all about the joy of play and the continuation of play? Like, heck yes, sign me up. So that's really, I think that was really like the heart to heart. And it's one of those things where, and this is where some of this, it does have spiritual aspects where I, you know, to a certain extent, it just felt so true. Like I'd already known that, but not been able to articulate it in those words. And so feminine leadership, that's about, I'm going to make sure I don't go too far off stream. So feminine leadership is based in the eternal, not any time based. There's nothing in the feminine leadership has to do with time really. It's focused on the experience. It operates in that present moment, past, present, and future, kind of all swamped together. And results are produced, but they're produced with that attention towards the experience. Then the experience of producing the results. And then, of course, that we're focused on the joy of play and the continuation of play for ourselves and all those around us. That's where that responsible for the experience, it's us, it's our staff, it's our families when we come home to them. Because that's one that can get left off. Now, masculine leadership is very time-based. It's very temporal. That finite game. We have X amount of time to accomplish Y result, and if we don't do it, we fail. This is where we'll talk about failure a little bit later, but this is where that failure piece is when we're in the masculine. If we're in our feminine leadership space, because it's more visionary, it gets less attached to failure. We can try and try again in feminine leadership with a lot more ease. So, and it's really, really focused on producing that result, like to the exclusion of everything. That's where it's not experience based or concerned about the joy of play. To the exclusion of all else, we will accomplish this goal. Now, at any cost. It's played for the outcome, the result. It's very much a push energy. Feminine leadership is more of a pull energy, where there's still some energy going out. There's still things happening, but it's more of a space of allowing and pulling people towards us or whatnot, or pulling the energy, than it is about pushing ourselves or our energy onto and out to anything. I want to distinguish also the pitfalls. I thought this would be really great for us. So there's the front of the hand and the back of the hand of everything. So we talked a bit about the front of the hand, the good. The back of the hand, the pitfalls for feminine leadership can be that nothing ever gets accomplished because it's all vision and no marketing plan, no goals. It can cause us to run late because or skip deadlines, run late because we miss things, because we forgot things, because we didn't have a calendar saying we needed to remember to produce X, Y, and Z to be on Ginger's wonderful Carpenter Ant Summit. Were that the case? It can lead to us being overwhelmed, again, about just too much stuff. The feminine can overpack her days because we don't live in time. So we'll have so much going on in our schedule because of course we can get it all done. Like, I have all the time in the world to do this. And yet we all do live here in the here and now with clocks and, time zones and time change, or, daylight savings time. So we have to operate in that more time-based world. Now, the pitfalls for masculine leadership, it can be competitive, very focused on kind of out for number one, like it's about me and it's about winning, and at any cost we will accomplish this. Sometimes folks can get mowed down in the process. There's an intensity to it, a lack of regard for the experience, so people can be flattened on the way to the goal. I'm thinking of like Gordon Gekko from Wall Street. Like he had a lot of masculine leadership, and if you were standing between him and that goal, he was going to take you out. Just a very masculine way to go about it. Now, I just want to pause because I am saying masculine and feminine leadership very deliberately, because it's not about man or woman or male or female. It's about the energetic cocktail of masculine and feminine energies that each of us have inside of us. It's affected by our hormones, and our hormones change throughout our life, both male and female, and I use that deliberately. Biologically male and female, the hormone cocktail does change and can cause expressions of masculine and feminine energies differently over the course of a lifetime. I won't go into all of that, but that's a fascinating whole silo we could go down. So it's about the energies, and it's about each of you and about each of us and all of us, and looking to see for yourself, where do you fall on the spectrum? When it comes to masculine and feminine energies, we all fall on this spectrum somewhere, and it can make it easier for some people to adopt a goal setting system or a calendar system or some sort of rigid structure, because it's very masculine to do that. It can be easier for some folks and nearly impossible for other folks. For me, I have a pretty easy time with goals and calendars and stuff, but I've learned throughout many clients, lots of friends, lots of people over the last 10 years, if this is the spectrum of ability to handle, structure, I'm way over here. Like, I'm pretty okay with it, but most women are way over here, like right here. And then of course the people in the middle. So that's where we each have to find our own way. So I just want to encourage y'all to find yourself. And it may not be readily apparent today, and it's something to kind of work on, set the intention, and that's going to bubble to the surface, that you're going to start seeing that pattern and recognize it for yourself. So, as I said a minute ago, it's about integrating that masculine and feminine, the finite and the infinite. If we have the big vision, feminine leadership, infinite game, that's the terrarium of our business, of our life. And that's your mission, your message, your vision, your, I don't want to say goals, but that big stuff, your impossible promise, the thing you're going to change on the world, on the earth, the contribution you're making. Then beneath that, or inside of that terrarium, there's all these little games. So that's the big game. And then all these little games, those are the masculine games that are supporting the feminine game, the infinite game. That's why I say that masculine structures support feminine flow, because all those masculine games, and that's a deadline, that's a goal, that's a car pickup, that's a meal to be cooked, that's an email to be sent. That can be a 6-month launch plan, but a masculine structure then allows the feminine to flow. And it's about being conscious and knowing what we need to lead with first. What is called for in this moment? Is it masculine leadership? Is it feminine leadership? And as we're integrating, it's not about balance. I had it for the longest time that I was trying to balance, perfectly Lady Liberty balance of masculine and feminine. And that's not really what we're going for. That can have its merits, but it's a little, we can take it deeper. So, and with that, we need to distinguish high masculine from high feminine. And that's when we're in the whole, it's all masculine mode. It's all push. It's all get it done. It's all at the exclusion of everything else. This will happen. We have to balance, we have to integrate that's the high masculine, with the high feminine, which is more of the all visionary, all flow, all planning, all, big picture, big chunk type of vision. We need both, but we got to be careful when we're in the high masculine or the high feminine, knowing that we'll probably play mostly in some more integrated balance where we're somewhere in the middle and we're just choosing if we're going into masculine mode at any given moment or feminine mode. Now, neither are bad and good. Before we get into the rest of this, neither are bad and good. So I talked about it a little minute ago, why we resist. A lot of us resist goals and deadlines, because deadlines and goals are all kind of intermingled, right? It's really kind of the same thing. We can call it a lot of different things, but I'm probably going to talk pretty interchangeably about that. Since masculine mode is time-based, driven by deadlines, driven for those outcomes, anything with a time component is going to cause us to go into masculine mode. So that's why some of the most inherently, quote, female or feminine roles, like motherhood, like cooking for a family, like even just raising a child to 18, it's inherently a masculine activity because there is a time element. You have so much time to cook the dinner. You have so much time to, raise the child. So it's a happy, adjusted, well-contributing member of the society. You have 18 years, you have 22 years, you have whatever you have, but you have that time limit. And then, so noticing that even though there may be some perceptions of certain things being feminine, anytime there's a time-based thing, it's going to cause that masculine pull to come out all the more. And that's just when we need to be even more deliberate about it. Okay, so my tendency would be to go full high masculine for the next 3 weeks because I have this goal, because I have this deadline. Well, okay, so I can see myself already starting to go into the high masculine, to start planning like the high masculine, or just even the excessive masculine with very little of the feminine flow. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second and maybe do a plan. Would be a structure to support the flow, where you would create a plan that would allow you the high masculine activities that you needed to do, very much need to do to accomplish that goal, balancing them with more of the visionary, balancing them with self-care, off time, alone time, friend time, partner time, romantic partner time. And that might be a structure to support you in flowing towards your goal. So how time and the feminine, because we're not time-based beings in our feminine, we are in that eternal time. That's where, those deadlines can slip, goals can slip because we flowed into a space that was all inspiration and all vision and very little attention to what was needing to happen to accomplish the goal. And all of that kind of rushing around and headspace where we're worried about things and things are being dropped and we're not accomplishing what we wanted, but oh my gosh, wonderful new vision over here too. All that kind of busy headspace can make us less impatient or make us less patient, less flexible, can mean we're like really attached to stuff and kind of clinging to it in a non-awesome way. And it also can cause us to feel sabotaged when little hiccups happen because we're trying to accomplish all of that. And let's talk a little. So, because masculine leadership is worried about failure, I mean, failure in masculine leadership is essentially, to die, it is a lack of survival moment. That somehow I went to accomplish this goal, it didn't happen. And in a survival instinct context, now I'm not going to have as much status in the tribe, like caveman, cavewoman time. I'm not going to have as much status in the tribe. And now my standing is unsure. My actual survival is unsure. So failure hits lots of internal stuff that makes us as just animals, human animals that for many, many millennia were not talking, walking, and using Zoom and computers and doing webinars. We were doing much more basic activities, and it mattered. So that neural pathway in our neural pathway are the information superhighways of the brain, and our brains are very efficient. They don't like to expend extra energy if they don't have to. So these neural pathways carry information very quickly, knee jerk, happens in a second. And those neural pathways have been rutted in, like deeply ingrained for millennia with some of this survival instinct stuff. And so it's going to take a little while before we can completely overwrite those neural pathways in our brain. Now that we don't really need to be so worried about failing and dying, because now when we create a goal, we are setting an intention. We are giving ourselves something to work towards. We know we're going there. If you can point to a goal, so much easier to get there. If you don't have a goal, how can you get there? And if you get there, how are you going to know it? Is one of the things I like to know. But so if you're one of the folks that has in the past, you had that stuff about fear of failure or having to be perfect, just bear in mind, like, this is where it's a mindset piece where we can hold failure differently. We can choose to say, you know what, I actually know that my life is not at stake here, and I'm going to choose to hold failure as an experiment that didn't work. So a couple things I want to offer on failure. I've had a very interesting relationship with failure that started with, I grew up in the mountains of Colorado, and it started with coming home from ski school. And I was learning to ski, probably 7, 8. I mean, I already could ski, but now I was in ski school, and saying, Daddy, I didn't fall once. And my dad's response invariably was, then you weren't skiing hard enough, kid. And he had a point, because if I was skiing hard and really going out on my edge, my growing edge, then I should be taking some egg beaters. And those are the things where the skis come off and it's a powder bowl. And, it can be a lot of fun or not a lot of fun, depending on how everything, shakes out. And so I started very young from that perspective of like, falling, which would be failing, in skiing. Falling was me getting better. Falling was me improving and letting myself push and try. It's masculine, but push and try and fail, and it being okay, because I'm going to get up and do it again. So, and then the other piece was then when I went to graduate school, which was communication arts, technology, and very focused on doing good things with technology. And that's where the book, Finite and Infinite Games, because she wanted us to do responsible things and have a beautiful infinite game with the technology and not create bad stuff. That was the reason she assigned that book, the founder of this department. But there, our whole thing was take technology, push it, push the limits out, see what you could create, and please, please, please fail. Like, she actually told us to fail. And I had a group project the first fall I was there that failed. I mean, horrible. Like, I don't think I've ever had a project fail so hard. Like, the sound mixing software thing, you know, Soundscape 2002. Like, I mean, up until then, maybe we could have said that this was part of the show because it was a live performance piece with a ton of technology too, and all the tech failed. But we still got an A because Red, the founder of the department, thought we really tested the envelope of what was possible, and that's what she wanted us doing. So you can hold it as I am trying and getting better. You can hold it as I am pushing myself to improve, and each time I fail, I'm just learning from my failures and moving on. If you can hold it as an experiment that we are in this wonderful, infinite game, and it's about the continuation of play. So can we hold these goals and failure as, you know, we're playing towards that, and it's okay if we don't get there. And I think that's one of the things that most stumps us up about our goals is we're so afraid that we're not gonna get there. And guess what? Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't. So we got to find a way to be okay with goals and okay when we don't meet the goals, because goals are good and goals are a structure that supports the flow. I've already established that. And the other thing with goals is let's let go of the past failures. Like, let's, all of us here today, this is the goal trauma stuff. Let's just forgive ourselves for not being perfect, because nobody is. Let's let go of when we had a goal and we failed. I've had tons, business, career, I mean, totally. Let's let go of this. Let's let it be okay. that's not what happened. Because it is okay, and you did learn something from it. And you can look at what you learned, if that helps. And also look, if there's something, one of those things, the goal trauma piece, if these things are coming back up again and again, and like one or two certain specific events keep occurring to you, write it down while we're talking today. Write it down, because you'll probably want to come back to that, and in some way, shape, or form, do some real release work. You can write out stuff on a piece of paper and burn it. That's always cathartic. There's EFT, emotional freedom technique, if you know that. I can point y'all to lots of different things if you don't have anything too. There's the Sedona method. So use whatever you have, and if you don't have anything, we'll talk about that at the end. Now, the next piece I wanted to talk about was, so this has to do with the calendar, deadlines, and setting realistic time expectations. Since we know that when we don't have enough time, we're going to go into that masculine leadership space. We're going to have less access to choice in those moments. We're going to be rushed, we're going to be pressured, and we're going to be in masculine mode a lot unless we're exerting a ton of energy to shift ourselves out of it. And so this is where I want to introduce you guys to buffer time. Buffer time. We like buffer time. Buffer time is time between the stuff. In a day, buffer time looks like not having calls back to back from 9 until 5 p.m. In a goal setting calendar or a project manager calendar, because a lot of time goals are broken down into marketing calendars, project management calendars, because we've got the big goal and then all the different activities that get us to the goal, and that's when the project plans come out. And they're very, very helpful. But having some buffer time, like project management 101 is, if you think it's going to take, if some project's going to take you 10 days, you double it to 20 days. That's how you create buffer time. But you do it, and you don't shortchange yourself. You don't say, oh, well, maybe not, or no. double it, because stuff's going to happen. Computers are going to break. Kids are going to get sick. Something's going to happen. And if you don't need all of that time, you'll just be you'll be ahead of the game for next time. But it will prevent you from not having enough time, packing it all so tightly that by the time you're approaching the goal deadline, the final deadline, that you will not have enough time, because you went half a day over in this, and then a week over, and then a little, and by the end you've got 48 hours and like 3 weeks of work to do or whatnot. That would be a pretty rigid plan, and we're going to talk about flexible goals in a second, where maybe you would move something if you can. Maybe you move the deadline. But before we move things, let's set things up ahead of time so we don't have to move them, which is the buffer time. Like, make sure you have plenty of time. And I'll add as an aside, but not for nothing, one thing I learned in grad school when it comes to technology and project plans and goal setting is anything technological, I actually triple the amount of time I estimate it's going to take. Sorry. So that's key, tripling your time when it comes to technology. And by my experience, we don't always need all of that time, but we need some. Like, something always happens and it's hard to install, or it's just hard to learn, but something slows us down. So triple your technology time. If it has technology, triple it. Now, so we do the buffer times. We give ourselves realistic calendars and timelines to accompany our goal. So that's a big piece. Keeps us out of that unintentional default masculine mode. And then we want to talk about flexible goals and adjustable goals. And this is where, depending on what kind of project you're doing, depending on what kind of business you have, other than an actual like in-person event where you have like rented a venue, other than that, almost everything can be moved. And that's where having some flexible goals, so we don't send ourselves into frenzies of masculine mode push, and we can move towards our goals and meet our goals in a way that doesn't have us feeling like we're pushing, like we're about to fail, like we have to be perfect, like we don't have enough time. So letting it be okay that we move that out a couple weeks. Letting it be okay if it's a monetary goal, like I want to make $250,000 this year, and you make 125. Celebrate the crud out of that. Love your $125,000, and do some post game. Like, look at the year. Like, did you really do what you said you were going to do? So instead of I failed, it's never going to work, look at what did happen and do some self-reflection. Is there something you could improve upon? Probably. Maybe you need to hire support. Maybe you need to hire a coach. There's a lot of reasons, but do the reflecting work and set the goal again for the next year. Keep going. Like, have that be your goal until you meet it. Like, that's okay. Right. Or if your event is on a particular day or week. Exactly. Yeah. But let that be okay. I mean, I think that's part of it, is we get really hung up, and then we get down on ourselves and start beating up on ourselves if it doesn't happen. And so we don't do any goals, but that's not worth it. So these are all kind of like little short circuit yourself ways to hold goals in a more empowering way, and be able to set them and work towards them in a way that's going to set you up for the best possible outcome. But part of that is letting it be okay if we don't meet it. Moving that deadline, moving that next time. Okay, yep, we're going to do that same goal until it happens. There's a lot of tenacity in that. I love that. Now, the next piece is about outrageous goals. I know a lot of people out there talk about setting these outrageous goals and really thinking big, going for it, and I believe in that wholeheartedly. If we don't declare that we want the 750 million, if that's you, if we don't declare it, if we don't put it out there, then it's really never going to And I think we need to have some more realistic goals. The goals that, like, without a stroke of genius luck and without, a holy intervention, or without that JV partner that's, you got 100,000 people on his mailing list and is perfect for you and it's going to mail for you, without, absent those things happening, that we can achieve this. Because there is the vig and the energy and the excitement that comes with meeting our goals. So we can have our stretch goals, like applying to college. You had your long shot goals, like long shot colleges. You have your stretch goals, which were really the places you should be applying to. They're well matched for your skills and scores. And then your safety. So I'm just talking about that. Those reaches, like we're striving a little bit. It's going to take some extra. It's going to take us digging in a new way, expanding in a new way. And then we have those long shot or those outrageous goals that are really big and keep us sharp because we're striving for them, but we actually have a goal that we can really, really meet. And so I like to do both with my clients. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. Yeah. And, more and more I keep bumping up against, and I'll just go here directly, is more of the spiritual aspect of these goals, that these are intentions, that these are requests of the universe. These are saying, hey, universe, I want this. And as a constituent of the universe, you get to have a vote. You get to put your voice in there. You get to say, I'd like this, please. And that's where intentions, journaling, affirmations really can come in handy with goals. It's not just the doing piece of the actions and the marketing and the this and the that to reach the goal, but where's your mindset? So the affirmations, intentions, and journaling can really support building a new positive mindset. There's, of course, mindset work where we look at the limiting beliefs, like the goal traumas, like where are you just like, where did that goal just bite you in the butt and you're still a little hurt, you're still a little bummed, you're still a little angry, you're still a little something because, you made this goal. I know I did this workshop 2 years ago and it was really big. I had put so much energy into it in masculine mode for like 8 weeks to get it out there, and it didn't have the results I wanted it to. And that kind of chinked my armor, so to speak. Had to do a little goal trauma work on that myself when I was like, oh, I think that bumped me out. Because normally I'm not aware until at least a little while after a goal trauma has happened. Like, oh, that's bugging me more than I thought it was. I knew it was kind of a bummer, but I'm still thinking about it 2 months later. I better do something with that and do some mindset work. And I'm looking at my notes. We're kind of moving. We're moving towards the end, so this is good. Yeah. And the other thing, so with the goals, I can't stress enough that how we each need to find our own way. So the best way to do that is reflect on the times you have set goals and either didn't pay attention to it, didn't have any structures to support that goal, because that can be part of it. If we're not setting a goal and then having a marketing plan or having a project plan or some sort of plan to get us there, it's going to be very difficult to achieve the goal. So maybe you didn't have goals, but or maybe you didn't have a project plan with the goal. So looking at why and where and how goal setting just doesn't happen for you. Do you do it and start it, but then you don't go back to it? I know that can happen, is that intentional goal setting, and I'm going to do this, but then there's not daily or weekly attention to it. Look to see where you have gotten in your way, where you have chosen to just not set them. And then really look, ask yourself, what would I need to help me through that moment? What would I need to support me so 3 weeks in, I remember to look at them again, or maybe 1 week in, I remember to look at the goals again. I remember to be coming back in. Some examples can be like, that This is where we're looking for just enough structure, not so much that it's so rigid that we reject it, but just enough structure. So it can be plans, marketing plans, project plans, can be accountability, like you have to tell somebody that you did it. Someone is going to check in on it. It can be like support, like a VA, or actually it can even be like a coach. It can also be what I call holding space project style. So the idea is sometimes I'll ask my VA if something hasn't been getting done and it's bugging me and it needs to get done. I'll ask my VA to literally sit on the phone with me for 15 minutes while I do the thing. That can be really helpful. And it's just nice to have her there and we're sort of chit-chatting, but I'm getting it done. And that time is reserved for it. And she's going to sit there on the phone with me until it gets done. And honestly, the minute we get on the phone, I just sit down and it's gone and it's done. It works really well. But yeah, kind of holding space for each other or asking people to do that for you. I do it for my clients sometimes as a coach. Like, I'm just going to sit here while you make that happen. and it means, you know, it happens. It gets stuff done is what it does. So yeah, but finding that own way where you are taking into consideration your proclivities. How much structure do you need? How do you like to work? What are the best ways for you to work? And starting to come up with your specific way. So you can set goals, you can have project plans, you can have buffer time in your project plans. You can have those adjustable and flexible goals, knowing that if need be, and with consideration and deliberation, we can shift these, we can change these, we can make these the next goal too. And holding goal setting as exploration and play. I mean, we can even just take that infinite game is just, what if goals were play? What if they were, you know, we are striving towards a goal, so we get to continue having fun and continue to play. So I know, y'all, this has been a lot today. I have got over a lot, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts before I open it up and we do some questions and stuff. Want to just offer y'all, if you would like some help with this, the goal traumas, the leadership of the masculine and feminine, the project plans, the goal settings, all of that. If you'd like some help, let's chat. What I love to talk with people. It's a very fun conversation, very exploratory. We will talk about what's not working, what your challenges are, and explore ways for you to go about getting them. And if and only if we're a fit and I can actually help you a lot, I will make an offer. Otherwise, I will send you to somebody I know, give you a referral or a book or a training program, or just a couple of quick tips if that's the best way to help you in the moment. And if that's you and you want to sign up to have that exploratory conversation, all you have to do is go to talkwithsarah.com, and I'll spell that TALKWITHSARAH.com, talkwithsarah.com. All you have to do is enter your name and your email, and I'll be in touch and we can set up a time for us to connect on the phone. And if you want to check out my website is at www.sparklingresultscoaching.com. That's sparkling results, plural, results with an S, coaching.com. And yeah, I'm excited to hear your questions and your thoughts. And this has been a joy and a delight. Thank you guys. And thank you, Ginger. And thank you, Sheila. Oh, you're on mute.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You did some great things with tools when you said something, look to see where you've given up and where things have happened before. But when you went into when you failed, the goal drama work, the mindset work, it looks like you're having trouble hearing me. I hope I was clear at the beginning. The goal drama work, you do mindset work. What do? Do you sit and meditate? Do you write? What is your mindset shifting process?
For me?
Yes.
Personally? Okay. For me personally, I do some EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique, tapping. I do that. I use the Sedona method, which is based in the what's it called? Based in the distinction that whatever we resist persists, if you've heard that. So it's about embracing what we don't want or the limiting belief and then releasing it, but there's an embracing of it first. Thanks, Ginger. And yeah, and I do some journaling, like more of the affirmation style. I do tend to write out limiting beliefs. I did that just last week. Write out limiting beliefs and burn it. I have a balcony, and that's very cathartic. Like you're burning something, with the intention that this is releasing, and anything that doesn't serve gets to go with it. What else do I do? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Well, and I meditate. And I do meditate. Yep. I do a grounding meditation because that can help us just be here regularly, like 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Anybody else have any questions? I did put in the chat for you the 2 URLs that Sarah was talking about. Ginger said that fear and pushiness were her issues with goals. Yep. And then she had commented when, I guess that was when you were talking about the structure, the mask, and if your event isn't a particular day of the week.
Yes.
Anybody else? Any of the M's here? We have lots of M's plus K. I'm not leaving you out. Any of you have any questions you'd like to ask Sarah? And I know there was nothing in the Q&A either. Okay, just for the record, since people were putting in, part of my thing with goal setting is that I'm not clear on my intentions and what I want to accomplish. So that makes it even more difficult to set goals, except for the goal to set to decide on what I'm doing. Okay, so you offered some things here too that would be helpful for me in that, even though looking at that as a goal.
Oh, good. And thank you, Ms. K, for saying I'm great. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a different perspective. I have a client who says, Sarah does not say what everyone else is saying, but it works. What is that from Ginger? What did you say?
How did you get over a low
turnout for an event? Well, I mean, that I always hold as kind of the show must go on. It's very theatrical. You know what I mean? Like, I said I was going to show up. I said I was going to be here. So you do. And you give it your all. And then do your best to not let the voices inside your head say that there's anything wrong. The fact is, like most events, at least the online kind where there's a replay, a lot of people watch the replay.
And then keep in mind, Sue, Ginger, I always look and find the answers. You've got the, okay. This happens to be a Sunday and it's Father's Day weekend. Yeah. And it's like dinner time for a lot of people. So that can be affecting that too.
Totally. Barbecues and stuff. And stuff happens. I mean, that's where, and I also think that it's about realistic expectations. I do a lot of online marketing, so I get a lot of clients with online endeavors and goals and dreams. And it kind of breaks my heart when, they do one thing and they get, 50 people signed up and 3 people are on the line and they think they completely failed. And I'm like, no, that's awesome. Like, you're not going to have a turnout like a guru, a huge name. You're not going to have that kind of turnout, guys. It's about numbers. You got to have a lot of numbers to get a lot of signups, to get a lot of people on the call live, and we got to have realistic expectations. Go for the gold, like strive for it. But what showed up was what showed up, and be grateful for it and show up bring your A game and do better next time. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like there are no other questions. I mean, Ginger did add even gurus can have a low turnout.
Totally.
Yep. And so it was very enlightening, Sarah. Thank you so much for being the kickoff speaker at this event. thanking everybody here for attending. We appreciate it. And I'm sure you got value.